Hi everyone and welcome back to Summer of Series 7 in Forza Horizon 5. The seasonal championships are back. We have the full set of 3 this week, so we'll begin with this one, the dirt racing in Volkswagen Golf. We'll be using the tune by Saino. It's a B class, so should be reasonably easy and fun. And when thinking about how do I do these championships this week, I realized that there's a thing I never really tried in Forza, and that's the cockpit view of the car. Come think of it, in all the years I played the game, I only ever drove with the car sitting behind, with the camera sitting behind the car, not in the cockpit. So I decided to give it a go. I don't know how this is gonna work out. The first idea was like, hey, if it's not gonna be fun, I'll just cancel out and start anew. But so far so good. I'm starting this first race and I can tell you right from the beginning that it feels way more intense, especially as you go through the pack when there are cars close around. It actually feels really good, and considering that seasonal championships are generally very easy and become a little bit boring if you want, as you do dozens of them over the course of multiple series. This is something fresh and new, which is definitely worth trying. So if you are a bit like me and only ever drove with one camera setting, I recommend giving it a go. And I'll try to describe my impressions so far. So one thing, as I said, the racing itself becomes way more intense. It probably has to do with a different perspective on the road in the car, because you're sitting way lower to the road, and that actually gives a better feeling of actually being in the car, not just driving the one on the screen. But also the field of view is very different. It's obviously quite a bit not narrower, but you see more stuff when you are behind the car, so your view is quite a bit restricted when you drive in the cockpit. But nonetheless, it feels great so far. I'm up in the first position, as you would expect in the seasonal championship, and so far so good. I have to say it's gonna take a bit to get used to. One of the things that is very unusual, I guess, is similar to when you drive a new real car, that it takes a little bit to get used to where the car is, where the car ends in every dimension. Because when you look at it from behind, you actually see all the edges and you know the size of the car just from the visual cues on the screen. Right here, I don't have a natural feeling of where my car ends to the right, and especially at the back. So this is something to get used to. Also, every corner, every track now looks a bit different, and even familiar corners that I kind of know how to go through require a little bit different approach because they don't look the same. So I'm not sure quite the opposite. I'm quite sure I am slower now than I usually was. But that's fine. Seasonal championships are very forgiving in this sense. We don't have a high competition from AI. I don't think I'm going to be using this view in... Oh, wow. I lost the rear. I'll talk about it a little bit. So I don't think I'm going to be using this view in any kind of competitive racing or rivals, probably not. But for seasonal championships, this is absolutely refreshing look, and it's super cool. I really like how it is implemented. Well, not that. We finished in the first race, so I'll continue my babbling about how the cockpit view works for me in the next race. But so far we just, you can see the AIs are much closer than they usually would be. So yeah, I am slower. But let's go for the next one. Okay, Caldera Scramble. So continuing from the previous race, one thing that is very different to driving a real car is that your view is locked. You know, when you drive a real car, you always uh, can look to the sides and the rear with just subtle movement of the head, and that changes the perspective quite a bit. Right here, you may have noticed in the end of the race, I tried to look back, and actually was a little bit surprised that that view is no longer in the cockpit. It's just going kind of outside of the car and shows you the clean, unrestricted view. So I don't think I like it. I would rather have the animation of a head moving in the cockpit. That would be far more immersive. And you can see I'm smashing a lot of cars this time. There's quite a bit more of a contact, and that again has everything to do with the perspective and the fact that I don't feel the size of a car. I don't think I'll fully get used to the car before the end of the championship, but I'll definitely gonna use this view for all 3 championships this week, because yeah, it works really nice. Now the other thing that I wanted to mention is when you're looking from the back, there's enough visual information to catch sliding or losing your rear early on and take corrective action. You know, the even a tiny smoke from the tires, the skid marks on the track, you can see it early on. You don't get, or I don't get that feeling from within the car. There's not enough information coming over to catch this slide or losing the rear early on. I guess that's probably the point where advanced controller like the PS5's DualSense it is, with more haptic feedback would actually help, because just the vibration without the visual cue is not enough. And obviously in the real car you feel the shift of the weight of the car with your own body, because you are part of the moving object. This doesn't happen with this view, so that's another reason why you might be quite a bit slower, or I might be quite a bit slower in this view. But nonetheless, again, for the purpose of the seasonal championship, this is great fun. I am surprised I never tried it before. Last race for this champ, El Pipilla Scramble. So that's a long lap, probably 2 laps on this track, as usual for seasonal champs. Let's see, yeah, just 2 laps, but that's fine. Let's go for it. Another thing to note is the rain effects and the water trail behind the cars. All of it looks so much better with this car. I mean, graphically Forza Horizon is gorgeous as it is, but again, the cockpit view puts you in completely different perspective in that sense. Let's try to minimize the contact, though it may not be easy. Yeah, that wall didn't agree with my plan. Let me know if this view looks more fun or better for the purpose of video. Is it more interesting to watch it like this, or do you prefer to see the lines I'm taking, which are better seen from the rear view? I'm quite curious. But in terms of driving, this is way more fun. I will probably experiment with other camera views going forward. Not sure if that's going to be on video or just in my offline play. I plan to stick to this view for the rest of the seasonal championships, though. There's going to be 3 sets of cars. The other 2 champs are on the road, so there's road championship in S1 class and I think street in A class. So I want to try how this feels on the road as well, and in somewhat more faster cars and different cars. But so far I am very happy. Look at those raindrops just racing on the windows, exactly like in the real car. I guess the front, the windshield doesn't look too real because there'd be way more water going on it, but yeah, it's okay. It's a computer game. It's yeah, it's a little bit weird to see all the little wheel motions that are replicated from me using the controller, using the sticks, because obviously in the real car you don't do it exactly like that. And I guess I also don't quite like the animation of shifting gears. I understand it has to react to me, but you know, when I'm shifting gears, that's already done, and only then the driver model on the screen gets the hand down and starts shifting. So by the time that animation plays, I already did the shift. I think in Forza Horizon 4 there was quite a bit of complaint that all shifting happens with the pedals and the steering wheel, even on the cars that don't have those pedals and never could have because they are before that. I think that I've seen that complaint before. Never quite understood it, but now I understand possibly why the choice was made, if that was the case, because it is a little bit distracting if you look at the screen that you already shifted, but the animation only just starts. But that's a minor thing. I mean, the work they've done on the cockpit view is absolutely phenomenal. Look at this. Everything is replicated. The actual gauges and the rest of the instruments on the screen are all operational. That's super cool. Anyways, let me know what you think about this little camera experiment. It was definitely fun for me. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.